Morning, folks. We're going to play a little bit of A Dark Room today. It's a text adventure that hit the internet 2013, 2014. You can play it in a browser, so it's system independent, or you can download it onto your machine or as a mobile app and even put it on a thumb drive. So we're going to walk through a text adventure a little bit, so thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to your help and any help in the comments. I haven't actually played through the game before. I only dabbled a bit, so any help is welcome. Let's get started. So, A Dark Room. The game starts off where you just see what you've got. You hear here on the left is information the game provides. Options are here, and locations are on top. So, let's get a fire going. So the light from the fire spills from the windows out into the dark. The fire is burning. The game is a bit of a survival and resource management game. So as of right now, we're just trying to get this fire going, get the room that we're in heated up, and see where we go from there. Every time I see this, the fire is roaring. I have The Hobbit's A Misty Mountain start playing in my head. A ragged stranger stumbles through the door and collapses in the corner. The room is mild. I would typically think I would have locked the door of my small little cabin, but what can you do? Alright, so the wood is running out. As you can see now, we have a resources pane over here. We have 4 wood. So we'll go ahead and stoke the fire once more and go looking for more. So we'll enter the silent forest. The sky is gray, and the winds blow relentlessly. Let's gather some wood. Dry brush and dead branches litter the forest floor. So the game kind of presents, if you remember maybe sort of the mid-90s to early 2000s, MUDs were very popular, multi-user dungeons, and they were text adventures. And one of the things that we're going to be doing here before too long over on the main channel is a playthrough of the Hitchhiker's Guide 1984 text adventure, which is pretty decent. I've actually never made it through. It's a pretty small game by most reckoning. It's like 50 some rooms, but I've never made it past like the 4th room. So you die a lot, but text adventures were popular. So that Hitchhiker's Guide game was first released on the Commodore 64 and a couple other systems by Infocom. And that was really kind of my first gaming experience, was those text-based adventures and early MS-DOS games. So I do like to head back to my roots and play these text adventures periodically. So we're about finished with this gather wood period. So like those text adventures, they kind of run like a one-person D&D setting where the game describes what you can do and what's available to you, and then you respond to those. Let's go check on the room, make sure everything's happened in there. The stranger in the corner stops shivering, and her breathing calms. This is after she mumbles quietly, her words unintelligible. We also missed the stranger is standing by the fire. She says she can help, says she builds things. Excellent. We need stuff. Alright, she can make a cart for carrying wood. I played this game for about 20 minutes the other day to see if I would be interested in playing it longer, and the cart is definitely helpful. So we will definitely take a cart, and let's build a couple traps. So like I said earlier, the game is kind of resource management-y. So here now we see in the forest we have traps, and in the storeroom we have wood. So these are our only 2 resources at the moment. You can check traps periodically. They can provide fur, a few other knickknacks and stuff, teeth and weird things. I've never seen the trap provide bait. I'm pretty sure you have to put bait into the trap, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. So the trap contains scraps of fur, and dry brush and dead branches litter the forest floor. Looks like it's going to take a while, so let's duck back into the room. Not enough wood. Bummer. Oh, it's going to take 30. All right. So you can actually download the source for this game from GitHub. It has a rudimentary saving feature if you have to stop and come back later. But as a word of warning, a wanderer arrives with an empty cart, says that if she leaves with furs, she'll be back with more. The builder is not sure she's to be trusted. Yeah, but like, is the builder to be trusted? Give 100, give 500, turn her away. Well, as you can see, like we only have 2 furs, so we're gonna have to turn away this wanderer. Sorry, mysterious wanderer, not today. See what's happening in the forest. Gather more wood. And check traps. Alright, so the traps have now provided scales and meat in addition to fur. Alright, builder's going to build us another trap. Takes us down to 14. I don't think I can trade sheep for wood in this particular game, but that might be useful. Settlers of Catan reference. One of the things that is I would like to be able to do is to check on the status of things like that fire. So here I just have the stoke fire button. I can see that it costs 1, which isn't much. The last thing we saw was the fire is roaring down here at the bottom of the screen, but it would be nice to be able to check in on those things periodically. I was thinking back on these text-based adventures, and the first computer that I ever got to play with was my grandfather's. He was a machinist, and it was a 1989 Packard Bell. Had a turbo button on the front, and actually the games would speed up when you hit the turbo button, which was fun, because most of those old games, the speed of the game was actually clocked to the processor, which is kind of fun. But I actually started using that old MS-DOS Packard Bell really before I could read at all or even well. I remember I had a piece of paper taped next to the keyboard for the commands to start games. And so even prior to reading, I was using these kind of text-based interfaces for computers. And so some of those first computer experiences for me were using command lines. And that's probably why I still enjoy hopping back and playing some of these games. More resources from the traps. It is possible to speed the game up to do what's hyper mode, where it's 2 times as fast, but I've never played it before, so I kind of don't want to speed through it right now, even though that may present some downtime as the gameplay progresses. Alright, so we're at 62 wood, 1 scale, 1 meat, 4 fur, 1 cloth, 0 bait, 3 traps. I really want to buff the number of these traps. I haven't seen anything from the fire. Let's toss something in there and see how it goes. The fire is still roaring. More traps to catch more creatures. It would be nice to be able to build more than 1 cart, but that doesn't appear to be the case from what I've seen so far. Bits of meat, strange scales, scraps of fur, and scattered teeth. I don't know why our trap seems to basically be exploding creatures rather than trapping them or just killing them. But yeah. Scales and teeth. Fun stuff. Oh man, some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. We're going to go ahead and make the silly person in a horror movie choice and go follow the things. Not far from the village lies a large beast, its fur matted with blood. It puts up little resistance before the knife. Oh man, it took us down to 1 trap. Alright, that's a bummer. I think we were up to 4 or 5 before that. At least the cost went back down. There was a beast. It's dead now. Thanks for that terse bit of update. Yeah, the beast tearing down the traps is pretty much a bummer. It seems hard enough to collect the wood that's needed to progress very far anyway without having to redo stuff every 5 minutes. Oh, a hut for 100 wood. I guess we just have a storeroom now, so I guess maybe we can expand the franchise a bit, grab a hut. So the first time I actually played this for 10 or 20 minutes was on my phone, and there, of course, since you're not using a mouse, there's no hover check function, so you can't check in to see what the cost of those things are going to be without tapping on them. So when I was checking before, this little tagline of not enough wood, I had over and over and over again because I was checking in on how much that stuff cost. I mean, I get why the room that I'm in is underlined to let you know that you're in it, but it looks like a hyperlink, so I keep thinking that like the place I want to go is underlined there. As you can see, like this pops up just for that reason. It would almost be nice for this to change color slightly. That would be maybe a better marker for where you're at. We're going to wait here since that check traps is almost finished before we move on. This population 00 that was in the forest, I actually have no idea what that's supposed to indicate. Maybe people like the builder come and hang out, but it's not really clear. How many traps did we have? 3. That is not enough. Question is, oh, a wanderer arrives with an empty cart, leaves with wood, he'll be back with more. Give 100. Doesn't matter, we don't have 100. I don't know if I want to save for this hut or produce more traps. I mean, traps are producing things like teeth, scales, meat, and fur, and which we have 100 of, which I'm actually not using for anything yet. So I don't know that more traps helps us out a whole bunch. More carts are what I would need. Haven't had an update on the fire in a while. Got to keep that builder warm, keep us flush with carts and traps. Alright, I think if a wanderer comes back and he asks for furs, we're going to go ahead and roll the dice on that and see what happens, because I don't know either. I guess the fact that this wild beast is tearing down the traps is probably not surprising, since apparently we're catching wild beasts in these traps. So maybe it's just wild beast self-defense going on. Again, dry brush and dead branches litter the forest floor. We need that for traps, carts, and huts. I'm kind of not inclined to build a hut, but that seems to be the only thing due next. Halfway through our resource allocation checks. So what do you guys think? Hut, yay or nay? I'm kind of inclined not to build it, but there's not much else to do at this point. Oh, we have a lodge. 200 requires 10 fur and 5 meat. So I wish I knew what these things did. So, I mean, the cart and the trap are relatively self-explanatory, but I don't know what the hut does or the lodge. Can I skip the hut and go straight to the lodge? I don't know. I think we're going to go ahead and roll the dice on the hut. See what happens there. Builder puts up a hut out in the forest. Says word will get around. Because that's what we want. We want random forest-dwelling people to come hang out in our hut. I'm not sure about that. Oh, but our forest is now a lonely hut. And this is apparently now where we're checking traps and gathering wood. Okay. So in my quick playthrough before, I did actually skip the hut building, so that never happened, and I never saw that before. So 1 hut, 3 trap. Okay, so we now have a village over here rather than forest, and a population of 2 or 4. So a weathered family takes up in one of the huts. Apparently I am running a halfway house for forest people. Gather more wood. What does Gatherer 2 do? +2 per 10 seconds. Oh, okay. So the more people living in your huts, the more wood you gather. A beast attack. Alright, a pack of snarling beasts pours out of the trees. The fight is short and bloody, but the beasts are repelled. The villagers retreat to mourn the dead. Well, that's a bummer. I just got a weathered family. Predators become prey. Price is unfair. Man. What's happening over here? Build another trap. Ooh. Not enough wood. But I can get more carts. Or do I not even have one anymore? Ooh, I might have lost my cart. Alright, so that's the next item on the agenda. Another cart. And then we can start saving for a lodge building. Back to the room. Cart is 30, just enough. Alright, so yeah, if you decide to give this a whirl, do not skip the hut building process. Turns out it is more integral than I suspected. Almost immediately after seeing the hut, I saw the lodge, so I was like, well, I'm just going to go for the lodge building instead. A stranger arrives in the night. But why? Again, I wish I knew what these things do. Like, so I know what the hut does. It acquires populations for the small village. Gatherer 3. Ah, okay. So the stranger apparently became a gatherer. So it's going to be +3 wood per 10 seconds. Population 3 to 4. I don't know if the lodge increases the population at all. Oh, another stranger arrives. 4 gatherers. A wild beast is behind me. Second hut is 150, lodge is 200. Maybe we'll buy another hut until its price equals the lodge, and then we'll see what the lodge does. So our village, as you can see, is maxed out. Population 4-4, 1 cart, 1 hut, 4 traps. And throw in. Oh, a beggar arrives. Ask for any spare furs to keep him warm at night. Give 50. Give 100. Turn him away. We've got enough to trade the beggar apparently for a small pile of scales. So if we end up with more than 2 rooms here, between a firelit room and a lonely hut, it's going to start to be a lot of resources to manage and pay attention to. Our fire had died down a little bit to just burning with a room warm, so we're going to try to keep it nice and toasty in there. It's enough for a hut. Now we have a tiny village, population max of 8, so see if that helps out. wonder if this builder gets paid anything. This apparently works for free. Hangs out building tiny huts in the village. Weathered family takes up residence in the hut. Traps yield stuff. Alright, so now we're up to 7 out of 8. Already back up to 120 wood. So, as you can see, as these gatherers increase, +7 per 10 seconds, that definitely is significantly increasing the amount of wood that we're getting. A stranger arrives in the night. That's our max population again. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep a max population and try to build this lodge, because I want to see what the lodge does in the presence of the hut. At which point we will pretty much be on the other side of my knowledge of this game. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so 0 bait, 2 cloth, 169 fur, 208 meat, 25 scales, 21 teeth, and 169 wood. Oh, the breakdown of how that works is there. Right, so we're getting +8 per 10 seconds for gatherers, +2 from the builder, for a total of +10. Apparently the builder is also a stick gatherer. A trading post would make commerce easier. Are we into that? Apparently we are. A hunting lodge stands in the forest a ways out of town. And what does that do for us? Oh, we have hunters and trappers. So I'm guessing we can take this 8 from the gatherer and increase the number of folks. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. The tracks disappear after just a few minutes and the forest is silent. Not helpful. So let's throw up a trapper and a hunter out of our population. What does this other one do? Oh, that's everybody. Alright, so that is not what we wanted. That's a max up, max down, and a 1 up, 1 down. Good to know. Not sure how many traps we have. Baited traps 3. Ah, so the hunter or the trapper must be bringing back bait, so that will increase our output there. We've got 3 baited traps. Pump that up a bit. I'd like to buy another hut and then try to aim for the trading post and see where that goes. Room's hot, stranger in the night. I'm just checking back to see if we have any fire updates, because I don't remember them. It's been a while. So go ahead and toss a stick in there. This is like a 1 resource thing, so I'm not really worried about it if I can't remember exactly what the state of the fire was before. But it's roaring, so the room is probably hot. Check traps. Alright. I like that these have gotten closer together. I must have skipped an iteration at some point. They're also apparently changing at different speeds, so it looks like they're not going to stay tracking together for too long. So now we have 5 baited traps, 1 cart, 2 huts, a lodge, and all of our stores. You see our total has dropped down by 2, so taking this hunter and trapper out of the wood gathering group has affected the rate at which we're pulling in wood. Hut and a trading post. So previously in my playthrough, I went straight to the lodge and I had a population of 0-0, so I never had these options for hunters and trappers. So it looks like from here on out, we're going to select things mostly in the order the game provides them. It looks like there's no jumping ahead, not reasonably anyway. Now I'm sure that if I'd hopped back in and built a hut, then of course I would have acquired some folks, but it wasn't the case. Population is 8 out of 8. I'm kind of inclined to build another hut before we move on to the trading post, so I think that's what we're going to do. Hut costs 200, what is it, 163. So we should hit that before too long. If we remember to gather wood and check traps. Alright, that popped us up enough for a hut. Thank you, Builder. Builder puts up a hut out in the forest, says word will get around. Population is up to 12 now. We don't seem to be using the fur, meat, scales, and teeth, so I'm going to leave this additional population as wood gatherers right now, because that seems to be the scarcest resource for the time being. Alright, so now we need 400 wood for the trading post. That's quite a bit. Alright, our current total is +8 for 10 seconds. Alright, so that's more than a couple minutes. We're looking forward to get there. Weathered family takes up residence in one of the huts. So now we're up to 10 out of 12. +10 per 10 seconds for wood. I wonder if the trading post acts like the mysterious beggars who show up, because those are effectively, you trade, you know, wood for scales or whatever. So I wonder if something like that is going to happen with this trading post, just a permanent way to convert these resources into other resources. That seems reasonable. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. Not far from the village lies a large beast, its fur matted with blood. It puts up, however, little resistance before the knife. That seems like the Dwightist from The Office phrase that I've heard from this game. It puts up little resistance before the knife. 249, so halfway there. There was a beast, it's dead now. Traps are destroyed. Oh yeah, how many traps are we down to? Yikes, 0. Alright. So we're going to have to delay our trading post a bit. What does that take us up to? 4 traps. Knocks us back down to 172. We also have the opportunity for a trading post and a tannery. Tannery is a place where you turn raw hides into usable leather, so they smell awful. We'll see how that goes. The fire is burning. Here, have a stick. Alright, halfway to the trading post. Definitely enough fur to make that happen. Again, just waiting on the wood. Perfect timing on these resources. I'm thinking after this trading post we need to go back and build another hut. Our population of 12, I think, is going to be limiting to us before too long. Although we're not quite there, we're 11, I think. Yep. Apparently can only have 1 lodge at a time, as that is grayed out. Same for cart. So cart and lodge are one-time current, not one-time use, but you know, one at a time resources. Again, I'm not really using these hunting and trapping resources, meat and fur. Oh, so the trapper actually costs meat. That's interesting. And he produces 1 bait. I see. Should cure the meat or it'll spoil. Builder says she can fix something up. So alright, so now we've got 3 things we need to build. A trading post, which costs 400 and 100. A tannery, which is 550. A smokehouse, which is 650. Alright, so apparently we have quite the shopping list for town building needs for the next... Man, it's probably going to be a half hour at least. I do wonder what the units for meat are. I mean, scales, teeth, wood, and kind of, you know, grok that as a unit in itself, but 287 meats. I don't know what that looks like. All right, 400. All right, so that, as you see, it gave us a new pop-up window, things to buy. So we can buy scales, teeth, and a compass. I would like to own a compass. It doesn't cost any wood. We're not using the fur for much else, so when that fur tops up, I think we'll purchase a compass. Stranger arrives in the night to bring our population up to 12. Ooh, man, I neglected these wooden traps again. It'd be nice if you had like a little notification over there that your stuff is done. Of course, that's, you know, part of this game is managing and remembering all the resources, but fire was roaring last we checked. So 500 wood, 50 fur. All right. Oh, are we totally out of traps again? Now the nomads have a place set up shop. They might stick around a while. Stranger arrives. Oh no, there they are. Baited traps 4. All right. 1 cart, 3 huts, 1 lodge trading post, pile of stuff. Yeah, I'm inclined to just skip the tannery and go to the smokehouse and then go back, but obviously the game does not appreciate that. Scratching noises can be heard from the storeroom. Something's in there. Some wood is missing. Oh man, the ground is layered with small scales. That's a bummer. I didn't actually catch to see what the wood was before that, but we're back down to 253. It was in the 240s when it actually occurred. You'd think with all these traps we're setting up, the number of creatures hanging out would be down. So again, I think our population is limiting us a bit. Another hut is 250. Hut or tannery. We can buy the hut now, or we can save for the tannery and smokehouse. I do want to see what the tannery does. We do know what the others do, but obviously we're slow on the other resources to take them up. Here, fire, have a stick. So we have enough bait for the time being. So I wonder if we pop that guy, because we have 40 bait and only 4 traps. So I think we're going to retire our trapper, send him back to be a wood gatherer for a bit, and make better use of him there. We're most of the way to that. Tannery, so that our tiny village can smell awful, in addition to housing the forest's wandering nomads. $502. Sold. The tannery goes up quick on the edge of the village, where it needs to be. It actually needs to be outside the village. If you've never seen the leather tanning process, it's pretty awful. So of course, modern leather's tanned with things like chromium or chrome-based chemical tanners. Previous tanners are done by rendering brain matter, and that emulsifying oil preserves the leather. And it is a quite smelly process. I spent a good bit of my younger year summers at pre-1840s reenactment. thus the probably weirdly specific knowledge of how leather is made. What does the tannery do? Apparently it just hangs out. Didn't seem to... Oh, we now have a tanner as an option. Well, let's make one of you. Alright, so you cost fur and you produce leather. So, that makes sense. That seems like a pretty straightforward deal. You cost 5 fur, you make 1 leather. Alright, so there's some loss going on there. Alright, next option is the smokehouse to preserve this giant pile of 291 meats. Good enough. A wanderer arrives with an empty cart. Says if he leaves with wood, he'll be back with more. Builder's not sure he's to be trusted. I'm gonna roll the dice. Here's 100 wood. Say goodbye. That's a little ominous. All right. Bye, mysterious wanderer. Please don't rob us. So I'm going to let this bait get down to around 5 or 10 before we relocate a wood gatherer to be a trapper, just because we were acquiring that way faster than we were using it. Probably could use another hut as well with a population of 12 and we're maxed out. That might be good before we build the smokehouses to make better use of some of those people resources. So I think that's what we're going to do. 250 for a new hut. Check in on these guys. I hope that mysterious wanderer comes back with wood, but I'm kind of thinking they might not. That's enough for another hut. Builder puts up a hut out in the forest. Says word will get around. So if the hut is going in the forest and the tannery is on the edge of town and we build new huts, eventually that tannery is going to be in the middle of downtown. Last time we talked about fire, it was roaring, so we'll wait till that comes down to burning and then toss another stick in. I do want this compass, man. I don't know why I want the compass, but I really do. I'm assuming it means a magnetic finding north compass and not like thing for drawing circles or circumscribing stuff. Fire is burning. Let's let that go down one more step to smoldering or whatever is below burning. One, I just want to see how long that takes. It's only 1 wood, so we can always toss 2 back in and pop it up to roaring before too long. The room is warm. Warm's fine. Check traps. Scratching noises can be heard again from the storeroom. Something is in there. Some wood is missing. Why don't we secure the storeroom? That needs to be an option. Stranger arrives in the night. 15 out of 16 folks. Bait is down to 24, but we still only have 4 traps, so this mud is coming down, but I'm not overly worried about it. When it happens, we'll remove one of these 13 gatherers and make them a trapper. It is weird that I'm apparently unbothered by the fact that something is in the storeroom, stealing my hard-earned sticks. Almost maxed out for population again. I haven't been paying attention to see whether this meat number like fluctuates, whether it goes up and goes down. because obviously the purpose for the smokehouse is to keep meat from spoiling, is what the flavor text said, but I don't know if we've seen any spoilage. The trap contains scraps of fur, a crudely made charm, and bits of meat. That doesn't bode well. I have 2 of these charms. You sure I'm trapping creatures? Because it kind of doesn't sound like it. A stranger arrives in the night and apparently decides to live here. The builder says if she could make finer things, if she had the tools. She could make finer things. Workshop. Ooh, 800 wood, 100 leather, 10 scales. Well, smokehouse first, maybe a hut, and then some workshop. What's our trap situation like? Still have 4. Well, it seems to be the traps are being destroyed less often, and then something is mucking about in the storeroom after the wood. So, I guess that's good as the town grows, but... Gather wood. After this trap comes up, I'm going to refill on the +2 magic elixir of wakefulness, and I'll be right back. Check traps. Alright. Oh, bummer. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. I leave you guys alone for 15 seconds. Not far from the village lies a large beast. Its fur is matted with blood. Dwight stabs it with a knife. Alright, so what you can't see because I've cropped the input window is in the tab at the top, because I'm actually playing this in the browser version. I had a *** event *** flashing when the beast was there. So although there isn't a notification when it's time to gather more resources, there is a notification for stuff if you're playing around in other browsers, other browser tabs. The fire is flickering. Alright. It's burning. Oh man, we're ready for a smokehouse already. Let's put that puppy up. The builder finishes the smokehouse. She looks hungry. Then we should have one of the trappers make her a sandwich. Ooh, charcuterie. Apparently we're making fancy meat and cheese boards here in Tiny Village number 1. Why is my trap all blowed out, or grayed out? Some traps have been destroyed. Some apparently meaning absolutely all. Alright, so luckily we were crewing wood pretty quickly at this point. So now we have 5 baited traps. Bait was down to about 19, so went ahead and decided that we're going to move over a hunter and a trapper. So we've got 12 gatherers, 4 more specialized folks, charcutier, hunter, tanner, and trapper. This is a ridiculous word for what should probably be like butcher or barbecue grill runner. But apparently we have a very fancy French-inspired tiny forest village. Alright, so the builder needs a workshop, and the builder is basically building this tiny village while apparently I am supervising and telling people things to do. Apparently I just get to hang out behind a desk. And so I think the next order of business is going to be hut and then workshop for the builder. This person costs 5 meat and 5 wood and produces 1 cured meat. So we are actually net losing fur per turn. So we may want to... So the tanner costs fur. The charcutier costs fur. Hunters make fur. Alright, so for the first time in the game now, we're actually having trouble maintaining fur. So that's worth knowing. Build a couple of traps. That should lead us to some more fur as well. Still at minus 3.5 per turn. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. Dwight in the forest with a knife and Colonel Mustard. Alright, so hunters are bringing in 1.5. The tanner is using minus 5 for a net of minus 3.5. It's not clear how often the traps are bringing in fur. Alright, so that just must be, these guys are producing stuff all the time, every 10 seconds, reliably. The traps produce stuff upon being clicked and not reliably. So our fur cost, even though we're losing fur every 10 seconds, because we're checking the traps, that doesn't appear to be going down anymore. So going to actually send one of you back, see what that does to the growth. 87. It's been a while for that. Need more people. We are now a modest village, dressed appropriately for forest weather. That's probably not what that means. Builder puts up a hut out in the forest, says word. Alright, so our population total is now a max of 20. We have 16. Alright, so this was a net of +1 during the trap cycle. That only added 2. Alright, we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Try to keep that balance appropriately high. I'd like to keep the furs over 50. Not required for the workshop. Got scales and leather. Scales we're good on. Leather we are not yet. So, on the way towards leather. Fire is roaring, room is hot. Apparently the builder and I just hang out in this room. Everyone else lives in the village. A weathered family takes up residence. Now we're at 19 of 20. down to 45. -3 per turn. Stranger arrives in the night. Please get to work. Do I have enough stuff to buy a compass? Oh, no, I don't, because I've been burning fuel fur like a mad person. Man, I really want that compass. Check traps. Alright, I think what we're going to have to actually do is build a hut. Maybe even 2. Oh, not enough wood. 345, 350. I think we just need more people. Sorry, builder. Your specialized tools will have to wait just a little bit. Oh, as a small aside while we collect some resources, if you've been following our Pokemon Go streams, you'll know that the new Deoxys raids are starting, the first and the second. There was a bit of a hiccup where people got some fallacious EX raid invites to raids that turned out not to actually be EX raids. They were just regular raid bosses. So Niantic actually issued these fallacious raid passes. People showed up and then fought regular stuff. And then some of the raid passes they'd issued, they revoked. So if you have an EX raid pass for the 1st and the 2nd of October, you're probably fine. So we actually got invites to those, so we'll be headed out there on Monday, and so we'll have a Pokemon Go stream probably that evening. Again, sending out Dwight to stick Summon Beast with a knife. Check wooden traps. But anyway, so check in with us on Monday. Monday evening, we will have a first Deoxys EX raid update, and that should be pretty interesting. Deoxys is after the generation of where I kind of quit playing some of the games, so it's one of the newer Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see now that Mewtwo is not the EX raid Pokemon, where they hop around to. Alright. Still -2. Oh, our traps are down. Let's build a few traps. Bait situation is fine. So as you can see, as this game has progressed with different needs for resources, we've had to radically reallocate stuff from wood collectors and really kind of load up on hunters. We're still getting +8, which has basically been our average for most of the game. So the population that we've been adding elsewhere. Stranger arrives in the night, brings us to 23 of 24. Check back in on the room. Fire is burning. Give it a stick. Give it a stick. Don't give it the stick. Ooh. If your life is missing the satirical G.I. Joe PSA commercials, you should go fix that right now. Alright, 188 wood, so it's still a resource which is seriously holding us back from new construction, but man, it's pretty much tied between wood, people, and then until very recently, fur. So, what was the compass again? 400 fur, egads. It was hot. Don't even have enough for another hut yet. Alright, so we got 6 traps, 1 cart, 6 huts, 1 lodge, 1 smokehouse, 1 tannery, 1 trading post. Actually, let's look at the... Oh man. So the trading post basically is fur for stuff, but we actually need stuff for furs. So that's kind of a bummer. Except for that compass. Worm is hot. Good stuff. Check traps. Kind of inclined to purchase another hut before we build that workshop, but it probably actually delays progress in the game, even though it may make our current game position more secure. So even though I'm inclined to purchase this hut, I think we'll hold off for the workshop. We're maxed out for population though, so basically just a time grind and hoping that no wild beasts come in and destroy the traps or the wood supplies. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away. Of course they did, because we were making progress. And Dwight does his thing. Oh, how many traps we were down to? 2. Man. At least the cost of these pops back down when they're destroyed. That would be a bummer if it increased each time. So your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth trap, etc. is always basically the same cost, and so if you lose some, it reboots to that cost. Oops, missed our resource checks. Alright, so we're halfway there to the workshop. I suspect the workshop will give us a new load of stuff for the builder to build and increase our modest village somewhat. After that workshop, pretty much no matter what, we have to go back and work on some huts. So yeah, it turns out the game progresses much faster when you have village people, the village people, working for you than when I first played through it for about a half hour. I didn't get nearly this far. I think I built the lodge, and that was as far as it got. I do wish with these number of gatherers that we have that I could increase the number of carts that they're using. But as you can see, like cart, lodge, trading post, tannery, smokehouse, these are all one-offs, one at a time. Furs up to 200, that is halfway to a compass, which I want for no reason that I can describe well. Alright, so we have enough leather and enough scales to purchase the workshop when we get there. We're just waiting on the wood resource, 2/3 of the way there. Some of the traps have been torn apart. Large prints lead away into the forest. The tracks disappear and the forest is silent. Back down to 2. Alright, that knocks us again halfway back to the workshop. It's like a 2-step forward, 1 step back on that. And we could start over in that workshop and build the hut now and grab additional folks. I think we're going to wait, hit that workshop first, and then go back for huts. Traps and meat, traps and meat, traps and wood, traps and wood. All right. Not quite up to 2/3 of the way there again. At least that's moving pretty quickly compared to previous. Don't recall anything about the fire recently, so we will give it a stick. So our fur, if we weren't checking the traps, is still at a -1 per 10 second. So we'll call that a tick for the game. So -1 per tick. So this checking the traps is really the way that we're acquiring additional resources there. So all 8 of these hunters are basically offsetting the tanner whose work is producing leather. Someone else costing us for just that. Looks like just that. So we've got about 20% more to go until we're ready for the workshop. It would be nice if these tracked more equally. So if you decide to play a dark room yourself, the first thing you'll see is this screen is actually by default white with black text, which is a little bit hard on the eyes. Pack of snarling beasts pours out of the trees. The fight is short and bloody, but the beasts are repelled. The villagers retreat to mourn the dead. Population is down to 17. Oh man, that was a high cost. But new ones arrived like right away. Dang. Anyway, so when you start this playing, it's actually really hard on the eyes, but there is a button on the bottom that says lights off or lights on, depending on which mode you're in, and it switches and inverts the color. And this is much easier to read for any length of time. All right. So we're back at the 24-24. Stranger just arrived in the night. Ready to plunk down a workshop. The builder's finally ready. The builder's excited to get to it. Torch, water skin, rucksack, and armor. Well, let's build a torch. And let's make a water skin. And that'll be it. This water skin will hold a bit of water release. The torch to keep the dark away. Gather wood and check traps. Alright, next thing we need again is a hut. So it'll be a race to a hut. Apparently we can have multiple torches. I wonder if this will keep the wild animals away. So 1 wood and 1 cloth. We've got 17 cloth. Let's build a couple of these. Good. Check out our out here resources. 5 torches. Alright, we got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total buildings, plus the room. I don't know if 1 torch per building makes sense. I really don't know what a torch does. So we'll make a couple of those. there's no way for me to know what time of day it is, but it would be interesting if the game knows what time of day it is, and that coincides with the animal attacks. That would make some sense. Maybe the torch will reduce the frequency of those. I would suspect if that's the case that these are consumable items and that they will go away. So we'll see if that happens. Four teeth, 50 scales, 30 leather. Ooh, a bone spear. 1 armor. We don't know what the armor does either. Let's throw a bone spear into the mix. Spear is not elegant, but it's pretty good at stabbing. Well, there's a Tinder profile fodder for you. Sorry, I needed to check the OBS layout. It occurred to me I actually hadn't checked to see if the right side of the screen was rendering for you since the beginning of the screen, or stream. So that would have been a bummer. Gather wood. Oh, so we can make minis of these. Oh, we now have a new subcategory over here on the right under stores. We have weapons. That doesn't bode well for the frequency of animal attacks like I thought the torch might indicate. So the question is, do we need more villagers, or do we need more things to keep the villagers from dying that we have? Thus far, man, new villagers seem to show up pretty regularly. That's kind of an awful calculus to do, but villagers seem to be cheaper than the resources themselves. So yeah, I really wish I knew what the torch was doing. I bought 7 of them just in case. Made 7 of them. So when the traps have been torn apart, large prints lead away into the forest to wreck them. Again, I'm still using the knife. So the weapons must be for the packs of animals that come and kill villagers, rather than me going out there for the trap destroying ones. Are we down to 0 traps right now? Whew. Yeah, alright. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. A couple few traps will set us up. 7 baited traps. Bait is at 8, so definitely fine this layout here. Fur is still steadily increasing, although a bit more slowly, because all of our net increase is coming from hitting the check traps button. We're losing 1 per tick. We are pretty close to this compass. So I think that will be the next order of business. I actually don't know what will happen if I drop the level of furs down below the maintenance level for the stuff that's happening over here. The leather guy. I suppose he just won't make leather for that portion of the turn. Guess we'll find out. 368. More traps, more traps, more traps. So we're 75% of the way to another hut, and I really think that needs to be the next order of business, especially because there's nothing else big to save for. Although we do have some of these things to start building. But we don't have nearly the amount of leather that we need for any of those. Check traps. It's like 2 more trap cycles should put us over enough to get the compass. I have no idea why you would turn furs into a compass. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. I guess it's a trading post, so we're like Joe Meek style mountain men. Warm, give it a stick. So yeah, our population is maxed out, so I think building a hut is in our medium and long-term best interest there. I didn't pay attention to what happened after the animal tax to these specialized workforces. I wonder if it removes from gatherers first. That would kind of make sense. Alright. Large prints. Statty. That should take us back up to 6 traps. Drops us down to 352 wood, so puts us within striking distance of a hut. And it looks like we have enough material for a compass. The compass points east. That is not how compasses are supposed to work. Sometimes early maps actually had east up. The north up map convention is a bit newer, not globally universal. The compass points east. Oh, there's a 3rd room that opened up, a dusty path. Shall we check it out? Oh, we need stuff. So we need 20 waters. Free 10 out of 10. That does not make sense to me. Tar. So if we take... Okay, so we can take up to 10 things. I don't know what a charm does. So we're going to take half of our available space for cured meat, which restores 8 hit points. We're going to take 2 torches, a charm, which does the bone spear, since we only have 1, and water from our pouch, and embark on a journey. Oh, that's interesting. How much of that can you guys see? Just about all of it. Is not wonder. Oh, that did not do what I intended it to do. What happened there? Alright, we need to check back in here. Gather wood, check traps. Here, have a stick. Back to the dusty path. Go out with the same stuff. Alright, so I'm using here the arrow keys to move around. This is an H. An old house remains here. Once white siding yellowed and peeling, the door hangs open. Yeah, we're going inside. The The house is abandoned, but at night picked over. Still a few drops of water in the old well. Take everything and leave. Alright, so that we were burning water for each step. That refilled our water. The old iron mine sits here, tools abandoned and left to rust. Bleached bones are strewn about the entrance, mainly deeply scored with jagged grooves. Oh, many deeply scored with jagged grooves. Feral howls echo out of the darkness. Yeah, let's go outside. A large creature lunges, muscles ripping. Oh man. The world fades. I think I just died. Oh. Okay. That guy died. Okay, that's crazy. So we need to take more people, more weapons. So there was an option there to eat food and restore hit points, which I didn't actually get even given a chance to see where that was being tracked. So, yeah. All right. Oh man, and our spear is gone. Our charm is gone. We did not get that stuff back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that was actually a pretty good loadout. We're actually going to take more. Oh, so we have a kind of refractory period here where we can not do much else. So about halfway through that. Let's go in and check on resources. To make a nomad shops into view, laden with makeshift bags. Once in what game it's clear it's not staying. We don't really need any of that stuff. So, later, fellow. Oh, man, is our compass gone? No, we still have another compass. Fire's roaring. Wood traps. Man, alright, so that totally caught me by surprise. I didn't expect that an adventurer is me beyond that part, so yeah. I wonder if we'll find the body of our previous explorer and we can get that stuff back. That would be nice. I kind of suspect that's not going to be the case, though. Alright, so almost ready to head back out on another adventure. We have enough wood for another hut. As you can see, I got so distracted by the dusty path that we finished that without me noticing. We're halfway to another armor as far as leather goes. Or any armor. A rucksack, which probably increases the amount of stuff we can take. Builder puts up a hut. Ready to go? Yep, ready to go. Alright, we're gonna get the shot again. Alright, apparently I didn't bring the spear, so that's a bummer. Oh, man. Alright, so definitely gonna need the spear. I thought that I had that. So, oh, I didn't put them in the thing. Bummer. Alright, torches down to 2. These are cheap except for cloth. Check on our resources. Alright, so we need to take 2 spears, 5 meats. So at least our water thing and our compass appear to be persistent through us walking into a mine shaft to get killed by beasts. Trap hut. How are we on people in huts? 27 of 28. I think we're gonna wander around an empty cart. Says she leaves with fur, she'll be back with more. We don't have enough. Did that person ever come back with wood? I think they just ran off. So that may be the last time we trust random people who promise to bring our resources back if we give it to them. Build another hut. Alright. Another 30% there. Fire's doing alright. I'm actually, this Dusty Path bit is really interesting. I didn't know that was going to be a part of the game, so I'm pretty excited to give that a whirl. Alright. 2 spears, water, 5 meats, 1 torch. I think I would have had whatever that creature was if I'd had a spear. I just didn't realize that I had left without it, so next time, take the spear. I don't know if the spears break, that's why I'm taking 2. It's not even clear. I guess there's just one explorer who's going. 500 for a new hut, and we need that. What's our weather at? 121. Alright, head back out. You know, snarling beast. Oh, man. Meat. Oh. I want to take. Drop nothing. Okay. Eat meat. Take all. Leave. Alright, so that was unexpected. There are random encounters there. So I got 17 water. I only have 2 cured meats at this point. I think we're actually going to head back here. Aha, so when you choose to come back, there's nothing going on there. Alright. So I want that up to at least 5. That up to 2. Let's check in on the resources before we leave. Stranger arrives. Howdy, stranger. Let's go ahead and go. Alright, so if you come back, you don't have to wait for that period to end. We're going to go inside. Stabby McStab face. Eat a meat. Stab. Stab. Oh, no. Stab. Ah, man. Just not fast enough. Alright, so it looks like we're definitely going to need armor or something to go on there. Whoops. Go back over. Check on traps. Leather's at 132. Did we lose all of our spears? Yeah, we did. Bummer. These are not terribly expensive. I'm only going to take 1 next time. It's not clear there's a reason to take 2. So, torches are dirt cheap. Go ahead and just make a couple of those. Go stick in the fire, because I can never remember where that's at. Alright, so our village population is now 32 of 32. We're still running with 6 traps, 8 huts, all specialized buildings. So we've got 21 people gathering wood. We'll probably actually increase this a little bit. Now we have a net increase of fur per turn. Alright. Hope that'll speed up our leather a bit. Build a couple of additional traps. I've got 9 traps. That's the most we've had thus far, I think. 17 people collecting wood, which is still plus 14 per turn, so that is fine. Meat is at a -1 per turn. Leather is +3. Fur is at -10. Snarl with packed movies, fight is short, villagers mourn the dead. Alright, lost some more of those folks. Alright, so they are not using the Bone Spear. The Bone Spear is clearly for the Dusty Path bit. Stranger arrived in the night. It was down to 237. Not much to do with that. Torch, 1, Bone Spear, 1, Cured Meat, 7. Alright. We are just going to not go there. The trees are gone. Parched earth and blowing dust are poor replacements. Stranger arrived in the night. Wired at 16. Dangerous to be this far of the village without proper protection. Why? Safe for here. I don't know why I don't have proper protection. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh man. I don't know why that period seemed longer for eating the meat, but that was a bummer. Checking on resources. Alright, so they're definitely hurting as far as fur goes. Torch. Bone Spear. I wonder why it said it was dangerous to be that far without protection and what specifically that means. Because I had the wooden spear, so it must be there must be some other. Ah, maybe that's the leather armor. That could be. All right, leather's up to 185. We need 200 for that. And we're gonna hang out here, purchase a hut, and then between rucksack and armor. I think the armor is gonna better suit us, at least for clearing that mine. There's our hut. What's our total village population now? 36. It's room for 4 additional folks. Not quite ready there. So as we make leather, that fur resource has now become our most scarce resource. That's an interesting dynamic of the game. I kind of like that actually it switches out the thing you need the most, what that is. I think that's a good design. And what's interesting is since they're all interrelated, the things that you're doing to increase resource at this point in time versus at this point in time versus at this point in time are all different in feed. So you may make choices that give you here, and that starts to then hurt you at this spot. So that kind of balancing and resource management is not always the dynamic that I overly like, but it's interesting here. I am, however, digging this Dusty Path portion. Alright, we're going to wait for both of these to finish up, click them again, then we hit Dusty Path, and I'll be right back. Jesus, a ruin trap. Alright. Coffee will be the death of my little person here. Track him out. Forest is silent. Of course it is. Alright, check back in on our resources, put a stick on the fire, and wait. Do we have enough for armor yet? We do! Let us buy an armor then. So we will remove a cured meat. Do I not have an option to put an armor on? Oh, I do. There it is. Armor, leather. Oh, cool. It doesn't even cost a resource spot. So let us embark. Let us haul up to here. Stab. Stab. Oh, okay. So this effectively increases our hit points, which gives us a little bit more wiggle room there. So we're going to take everything we can and leave. The mine is safe now for workers, and the path we took to get here is now made of pound signs. Let's go inside, see everything else that happened here. Get some meat. Oh, there's a person here. Damn it. Man charges down the hall, rusty blade in his hand. So it's a bummer that you basically cannot you can't take meat outside of combat, is what that looks like. Water 14, cured meat 2. We are going to head back to our little village. Gather wood, check traps, gather wood because clicking things is hard. Dry brush, strange scales, man charges down the hall. One spear, 21 leather. Scratching noise can be in the storeroom, something's in there. Alright, so our wood is at 657. Oh, geez, and it went to 678 and then down to 611. So some wood is missing. So that's a chunk of wood. Why can't we secure that storeroom, man? Builds another hut. Builder puts up a hut out in the forest, says word will get around. That appears to be true. Alright, dusty path. I just want to prep this for when we go again. Got 1 charm, 6 cured meats, 1 torch. So it actually appears to be another family coming in. That should put us pretty close up to tip top. 38 out of 40. So it appears to be no reason to have more than 1 spear at a time, or really even more than 1 torch. It may be that as those little jaunts get further and further, maybe the torches burn out, but we haven't seen that yet. So I'm not going to purchase any more torches until we see if that's possible. So one armor apparently is a 1 use at a time item. You can see that it's grayed out just like our other 1 use items are. Rucksack looks like the next thing to purchase. That's on leather, so that's going to be a slow grind for leather there. 6 traps, 10 huts, check traps. Fur was down to 5. So yeah, that fur is definitely holding us back at this point. Stranger arrives in the night. Let's throw some traps at that cat. 9 baited traps. Still a -10 per tick. Man. That's because we're converting all that to leather to try to bump this up, but even at +3 per turn, that's a slow move. What is up to +22 per tick? That's pretty quick. Ooh, we have iron now. There's things to buy. I don't know when that occurred. 150 fur. We're at 0 fur right now. 150 fur, 50 scales for iron. That probably gives us better weapons, better spears. Excuse me. I think we're going to have to reduce the number of tanners that we have and move that over to hunters. Still minus 4.5 per turn. Man. Bait is fine. This one trapper is keeping us flush with bait. Cured meat, that's fine as well. It's really this hunter resource that's kicking our butts. So if we drop, we can actually afford to drop wood down significantly back to kind of our historic, typical period of plus 10. Let's see where we're at now. Plus 1.5 per turn. Alright. So we've got 23 hunters now. That is now our largest resource population. By nearly double. Our gatherers are 13. That has been far and away our main push for the entire game thus far. So that marks a significant change in the resource value allocations. Everyone's warm, give it a stick, give it a stick. Scratching noises can be heard from the storeroom. Alright, what is it? 382. Alright, it only took 30 that time. That's not so bad. Why can't we secure that storeroom? Like, that should be a thing. I thought that we might have oh, I bet the iron occurred when we opened up the mine for workers. It's weird that we didn't have to allocate any of those. Oh, iron miner. Yes, we do actually. So our wood is at plus 9 per turn. So let's send one miner there. Yep. Alright, so that iron definitely comes. So this is just for buying and trading. So the fact that we opened up the mine allows us to purchase iron, but we can also acquire iron in the usual way by having people do the thing. So here it costs 1 cured meat per tick, and that turns into 1 iron per tick. Our cured meats are a net of 0. That's interesting. Who produces cured meat? You do. And you cost meat and you cost wood. Let's increase that. What did that do to wood? Plus 3 per 10 seconds. Man, that hurts a little bit. We really don't have much stuff to build on top of that. Let's give that a go for a little bit, see how that shakes out. You know, we could actually remove this trapper for the time being and make them be a gatherer for a bit, because we're pretty decent for bait for a while. So we're at 142, so let's leave this guy here for enough time to have that drop down to like 30. Leather 72. Oh, we've got some other stuff now. We have a cask. We don't know what it does. We have a wagon. But a wagon is like a cart, but fancier. Takes 100 iron. I suppose this eye is iron. So we have iron armor, probably better than our leather armor, and an iron sword. Which is 201, inexplicably. 20 iron, maybe for the fire. Maybe you have to smelt the iron into steel, but it's not even steel, it's just iron. So 50 leather, 20 iron, 200 wood. That may be our first iron purchase. That leather armor was treating us pretty decently there, so I'm not as worried about that. That wagon though. More scratching. Some wood is missing. I wish that was an option to address that. 200 leather, 100 iron, 500 wood, 100 iron, 20. So this is actually relatively cheap So I think this is definitely going to be our first buy, the iron sword, and then the wagon. Especially if the wagon hauls more wood. I assume that's the case, or maybe it like rides out like a medieval armored personnel carrier. Alright, so one more tick, that should turn over, we should have enough to buy that sword. Oh man, I haven't checked on here in a while. Bummer. Pop back over, iron's at 20, buy a sword. Let's pop back over here. Gonna reduce the number of bone spears by 1. Increase irons. Oh, does that take up more than 2 spaces? It does. It costs 3 spaces to hold an iron sword. That is a bummer. So it's going over here. Alright. We're going to let these tick over, and then we're going to hop onto the dusty path again. See if we need to clear the way. This only takes 1 meat per. That's alright. What is down to +3? So our cured meats are still at net 0, 0. Oh, right, because I only added that one. Fur is up to 81. That was 1. Give it a stick. 600 for a new hut. Alright. 9 traps. We're going to check traps, then we're going to hit the road again. Let's go. It's water 14. Snarling beast. Do some swinging. Take everything and leave. Alright, so we're at 9 water, 1 torch, 2 furs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, what happened? The world fades? Why did that happen? Did I lose the sword? Yeah, man, I lost the sword. Why did that happen? Starvation sets in. Alright, that's a game component that we didn't know existed. Your explorers can starve to death 1 move from the village. That's a bummer, man. They should get, like, a move or 2. I was worried about the water. I didn't even check the food. Alright, pop back over here. Check resources. So that's the reason that swords are not terribly expensive. I mean, compared to some of the other stuff. Torch. Check traps. Is everything fine with that stream? I got the 0% drop rate, but I just had an error in OBS that said there's an encoding problem. Everything looks fine on my end, so if there's a problem with the stream, please let me know below in the chat. Everything looks fine on my end as far as I can tell, but I had some little error message about an encoding overload. Roaring fire, wood. That period should be let over. I wonder how much iron that purchases, if it's really worth it. Scales are pretty slow to accumulate. Fur has been, you know, the bane of my existence for the last few ticks. Wood is still at +3. We definitely need some more people. Pack of snarling beasts. Villagers retreat. Yeah, but definitely it's taken from the gatherers first, so that's worth noting. I'll go without my wood. Yeah, man, I'm now consuming wood per tick until we can get some more people in here. 437. Oh, yeah, oh, down. All right. So yeah, that's going to be a net loss until we can get some more villagers in here. 37 and 40. So what do you think? Save up for the iron armor or the wagon? The iron cost is the same. At this point, the wood cost is almost inconsequential because that's an amount that we'll get quickly. Cask probably carries more water. Rucksack, 60 leather. Man, we're still 64. We're still far away from that. We're gonna gather wood, check traps, and head back out. Wood, meat. Okay. Strange looking bird. Eat meat. Take everything and leave. I died again. I need to pay attention next time to see how much meat it takes to move. I thought it was only taking water and meat were restoring hit points, but that appears to not be the case. So we need to do an experiment next time and find out what those costs are. And we need another iron sword. Torch is down to 6. Stranger arrives in the night. That should pretty much fill us up. Oh, still got 2 more. +2 for cured meats. +11's there. +2 iron. +2 leather. So net +2, net +1, 1.5. 2. Compass points east. Compass might be broken. Or there could be something really highly magnetic nearby. But compass should not point east. Unless, like, compass means sextant or something weird. Ah, so the charcutier takes that as well. Net 0 for cured meat. I remember Net 0. Net 0 offered free internet access in the early 2000s. Then it became like Net 10 when it started charging. But it never really took off. It should have really been a competitor for AOL, but it just never got up there. That was back in the day when the internet went "wee" and made horrible noises. Oh, I haven't checked on traps in a while. Still mine. That's good. Mm-hmm. 600 for another hut. About 2/3 of the way there, a little bit less. That period is almost over, but we didn't. Wait, I don't want to take an iron sword. I actually only want to take a meat. Take 2. And a torch, because they're cheap. Alright. So that is 20 waters, 2 meats. 1, 2. Alright, so 2 moves per meat. 1 move per water. 1, 2. Alright. That's worth knowing. Man, it didn't even occur to me that the meat was a resource that was I didn't even notice that it was being consumed before. Almost to another hut, which means probably some animal will attack and eat something valuable of ours. Mine path. Give it a stick. I wish I knew what these did. I'm pretty sure the cask is probably an upgraded version of a water skin, just like iron armor is an upgraded version of leather armor. Ooh, I thought that was a 1 at first, but it's clearly an L for leather armor, iron armor. That makes more sense. All right. So I wonder if the only place to go on that dusty path is to the mine. Like, we headed north, briefly east and west. Guess we head south now. I mean, not actually that. We might have headed east, if east is where the compass points. So maybe we head down and west. But I'm not sure what else is there. Pack of snarling beasts. Kill 6 villagers. Predators become prey. Price is unfair. Traps. I don't know where this never-ending supply of families coming from must be. Alright, so let's take a bone spear since we are merely exploring. And take a bunch of meat and embark. Of course, our least. Take everything we can. So drop the fur, take a meat, drop nothing, take meat. Thought I dropped a fur. Am I full up? Guess so. The mouth of the cave is wide and dark. We'll give it a shot. Oh, it's a stab. A startled beast defends its home. Take everything. Continue. Oh, geez, what's happening? Body of a wanderer. Oh, man. Alright, let's drop a teeth. And let's drop a tooth. Pick medicine. Can I eat meat? Yeah, we're going to leave at this point. Get back in here. Alright. What did we check here on resources real quick? So we brought back medicine. I have no idea what that does. I imagine it's probably something we can take with us again. Yes, it is. I think we picked up an iron sword too, didn't we? Yes. Alright, nice. Decent. It's our iron at 117. Alright, so we have wagon and we have cask. I'm inclined for wagon. Oh, we do not have enough for the leather's holding us back on iron armor. We're buying a wagon. The wagon can carry a lot of supplies. What does that mean for the dusty path? Whoa, yeah, it does. Oh man. So we went from 20 spaces, or 10 spaces up to 40. So that's a bunch. So that is much longer expeditions. Give it a stick. That nerfed us for wood currently, though. Give me a second here. So now that we've discovered medicine, that's a thing that we can buy in the future. So that's good to know. Alright, so it looks like the torches are consumable in certain spots, so that's good to know. Increase this a little bit. Stranger arrives in the night. Pop back over here and check on resources. Alright. Give me a second here. Alright. I think we'll wait on these resources one more tick and then pop over. Kind of don't want to leave the traps that long, so doing pretty decently on fur though. Check traps and head out. Bark. Beast. So, want to eat meat. Take everything and leave. 16 water, 10 meat. Cured meat, 1 other meat. So that should be alright. Go inside. Take everything. Continue. Take everything. Continue. A giant lizard. So it's good to know that the sword does way more damage, and it can actually use both back and forth, so that's useful to know. So let's take everything. Let's check on 9 cured meats. Alright, we're going to continue on. How much stuff do we have? We can take everything, can't we? Yeah. Let's see. Drop cloth. Drop teeth. Startled beast defends its home. Go ahead and take everything. It's 11 meat, 14 water. Continue. Swing at the giant lizard. 8 meat. Swing at the giant lizard. Take everything we can. I think we're gonna head back at this point. It's I don't want to risk it too much. Trees are gone. Snarling beast. Take everything and leave. Whew, back home. Alright, let's check in on resources. What's it, 360? Been a while, so we'll check the fire. Oh, yeah, cured meat 278. Oh yeah, we're fine. Let's kick that up to 15. Torches. Kick that up to 2. Actually gonna build some more torches now, so now that we know that they're consumable, but where they're consumed. Okay. How are we on iron? 123. Enough for a cask. We're halfway to iron armor. Well, there's a 219. I think we're going to take a rucksack first. Carrying means longer expeditions into the wild. Oh, did that... I don't know if that helped us out at all. That's a bummer, because we already had a wagon. Well, that's useful to know. Yeah, that's a bummer. Don't have enough for the cask now. Man, that's a bummer. I hadn't thought about that the wagon superseded the rucksack. One, two, three. An outpost is a safe place in the wild. That's good to know. Go inside. Squeeze. Take everything. Continue. You meat. Stab. Swing. Swing. You meat. So I'm trying to use a meat at the end of that combat because you've got this little bit of lag period, because it doesn't look like you can heal up outside of combat, which is kind of a bummer. Only got 6 more free spaces. Ooh, a steel sword. Take everything and leave. Trees are gone. Back to the village. So a steel sword weighs 5, but does 6 damage, compared to my armored sword, which weighs 3 and does 4. Medicine restores 20 hit points. Good to know. I'm actually not going to carry that with me at the point, because I don't want to lose it. Can bring this back down to 15. We actually got a net increase there in cured meat for that little adventure. And I don't know what a charm does. Increase this. Pop back over for resources. What are we at for wood? 519. Hut is going to be 6. Leather's at 49. Iron's at 155. So, yeah. Been a while for this. And we'll head back out. We're gonna not take the iron sword. We're just gonna take the steel sword. That didn't cost us anything, so we're gonna take that and the bone spear. And see how that goes. So there's always going to be cured meat here. That's good to know. I actually want to leave this here in case we find something else, because I only have 9 free spaces. Now the cave, go inside. Squeeze through the opening. Eat a meat. Go ahead and take the fur and continue. Giant lizard. Take everything. Continue. Take all the steel that we can. Can we drop stuff? Drop teeth, preferably. Drop fur, preferably. Don't need scales. Drop fur. Drop teeth. Alright, so you have to hover over the thing you want and choose what you're going to drop in that location. So that's good to know. I want to leave the cave system. Trees are blowing. Get some of this stuff back. We want to... Looks like it auto-dumped those resources, which is nice. Drop that deck down to 15. Torch and steel sword, bone spear. Check on our resources here. What's happening out here? Enough for a hut. Build some more people. Now we can build a steel sword. 500 wood, 100 leather, 20 steel, since we've got that. Convoy is 1,000 wood, 200 iron, 100 steel. Dang. Water tank. That's pretty self-explanatory. Cask. Don't have a leather for that. Alright. I have no idea like how far into the game this might be. Stream's at about 2 hours and 15 minutes now, a little bit less, and plus the, I'll call it 2 hours. I've seen, I think some people have sped through the game in 3 hours, and almost everyone has finished it by 8. So I don't really know how far along we are. I may play for a little bit more and then try to save the status and get some lunch and come back. So. Grab wood, check traps. Oh wait, how many traps do we have? 9. Okay. I wonder why these got reoriented. Do these sort in some way? Traps down all. Oh, we're out of bait. That's why. Sickness is spreading to the village. Medicine is needed immediately. Well, go ahead and use that. Sickness is cured in time. Some villages are ill. Sufferers are healed. That was our only medicine, though, so that's a bit of a bummer. We can trade for that. 50 scales and 30 teeth. Oh. Well, let's get 2 of those then. Two torches, 3, 1 steel sword, 15 meats, 1 charm, 1 spear, 20 waters. Give it a stick. Gather some wood, and let's head out. Back to that cave. A man approaches. A man is not approaching. We'll take everything. Can I not get back into that cave? A wall of gnarled trees rises from the dust. Their branches twist into a skeletal canopy overhead. Cured meat 10, water 16. Campfire burns by the entrance of the mine. Men mill about, weapons at the ready. We're gonna leave. Slash this guy. Take everything and go. Trying to make it back here. Did we make it? Yeah, we did. Just barely. Alright guys, I think I'm going to take a break for a bit. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll come back to a dark room before too long. Thanks. Have a good day.